I think there's a big learning in everyone's journey, which is around authenticity. It's about finding out who you are. And I think very early on, you're taught to mask that, especially in corporate roles. And, I cast my mind back into previous roles where we were taught to behave in a certain way that, this is what management looks like, this is what a boss looks like. And in many ways, you do mirror that.
Welcome to the Leadership Performance Podcast, where you'll learn what makes leaders truly high-performing from leaders and their coaches. Bianca, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on the Leader Experience Podcast and share some of your experiences with us. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. So before we get too deep into anything, would you mind sharing with the audience, what is it that you do in your professional life?
Yeah, so I've had quite a colourful background. So from engineering to business development to sales, and now sitting in as a chief experience officer. And in my role as a chief experience officer, it really is about bringing all the elements together. So, as an organisation, we have various streams. So we've got a product stream, we have a finance stream, and a services stream. So the question mark is, how do we bundle that all together so we are seen to be a meaningful partner to our customers? And my role, in a very simple way, is how do I bring that together in a seamless way with technology? So there's the technology part that reports into me, as well as the customer experience, which is always the forefront in everything that we do at Skope.
So it's very interesting. So tell me, just share more about what Skope does, and I'm going to ask you some more pointed questions, but we'll make sure that people can picture what we're talking about.
Absolutely. So Skope is a premium manufacturer of commercial refrigeration, and they've been around for about 50 years. They're very well known around our industry, and most hospitality venues across Australia and New Zealand in particular, are very familiar with our brand. We are very lucky because the basis of what we do is all around sustainability. So, how can we make our products more energy efficient, and how do we kind of tackle this climate change issue, at least in the category that we supply to? So in order to do that, we need to make sure that a premium product is accessible and affordable to everyone. So we've created a second stream of our organisation, which is financing, and that allows people to access our fridges through financing agreements, and it makes it affordable for everyone. So it's not about making a top tier product that only certain people can access. It's about making sure that this well-designed, well-engineered product is accessible to everyone. And then obviously we care for our customers. So once everything is said and done and it's out in the market, we want to make sure that we're looking after the customers after that. And that's where our services comes in. So ensuring that we can service these products at an optimum level, that they do last, beyond our warranty, is always the core goal for us. It's an all-encompassing product. It's not just a product that we're delivering to the market.
That's awesome. And so when you're measuring the customer experience and joining back to what you spoke about at the start about having the technology and the product and the engineering and the service, how do you measure the customer experience? What's your process for that?
Customer experience is a feeling. And, as an engineer, that always goes against your grain. If you can't measure it, then it doesn't exist, but it surely does exist. So one of the key things that we do implement is customer call rating. So after every interaction a customer has with us, they have the opportunity to rate us. It's a score from 1 to 5, and it allows us just to give us insight around, how things are tracking, at least on their perspective, and, what the experience was like for them. And then second to that, we have implemented technology like AI that can actually predict how customers could have felt in certain interactions. So it allows us to measure things like sentiment, like tone, both on our side and their side, and really capture the essence of a phone call. So it's not just about a transaction. It is about how does that quality look like on our side as well. So that's just at least on a call and agency perspective. In a kind of all-encompassing perspective, it is about mapping out our processes and making sure that, we are considerate of every interaction and every touch point the customer has with Skope. And so really deep diving into those elements to see what we can do to improve that, even if things are great. So I always talk about best in class rather than just best in industry or, common practice. I think it's all about lifting the bar for us and seeing how we can push boundaries to always deliver great experience.
I love that you're doing the sentiment analysis on the touch points. Is that for both the sales and service side?
It's all throughout the organization. So any interaction that we have with the customer, there is an opportunity to rate us. And what it does is it helps us really pinpoint those areas where we can either improve from or just recognize where we're great at so we can continue to replicate that. So technology has come a really long way, and that's a really exciting part of what I do. It's how we can implement it strategically and then make changes and improvements so it's going to enhance the quality of the work that we send out to the market.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So can you share with me a little bit on the personal side? You were gave a little bit of, briefly said that you came through an unorthodox path through engineering and to where you're at now. Now, when you were 12 and someone said, Bianca, what are you going to be when you grow up? You didn't say a Chief Customer Experience Officer. What journey was it that took you from, firstly, what did you say you're going to be when you were 12? But then what journey did you take to find yourself being so laser focused and so analytical on such a personal feeling?
Yeah. I think the first thing is it's not about the title, it's about what drives you, what gets you out of bed every day. And I think, at 12 years old, well, the things that drove me was people. And I think that's where the experience part comes in. Even with my research, the focus is on it's human centered. So it is all on social science. That's where my doctor's degree sits at the moment. And all of my research is always centered around people. Now, I guess in my experience, you can have the best strategy, the best processes, the best systems and technology, but really people are fundamental to everything that we do. So it's not just external customers. I think if you can keep your people happy, then that transfers to customer experience. So at a really young age, just to answer your question, it was always about supporting and helping people. I consider myself to be a servant leader, somebody that can be there just to remove roadblocks that our team can keep, trucking ahead. And if I can do that in a way that's supportive of them, that's going to grow talent below me, then I've done my job and that's my personal win.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Can you share on your journey? Did you have a moment? We all have these moments where you realize that you were working super hard as a leader and trying to make sure that you're getting everything right, and then you found out after a period that there was something that you were doing that you were unaware of. You're like, oh, if only I'd known that earlier, I could have changed to be more effective earlier. I call it wisdom earned. Would you mind sharing an experience where you had a learning experience and it really, impacted how you lead?
Yeah, I think there's a big learning in everyone's journey, which is around authenticity. It's about finding out who you are. And I think very early on, you're taught to mask that, especially in corporate roles. And, I cast my mind back into previous roles where we were taught to behave in a certain way that, this is what management looks like, this is what a boss looks like. And in many ways, you do mirror that. Very soon, I found out that we're not leading companies, and companies aren't just this bricks and mortar and this big, sign at the front of a building. It actually is people. And, I'll keep going back to that because the core learn for me was for me to ensure that I can connect with people to make them the most productive way to grow, productivity and grow talent. I needed to be a human on the other side of that coin. And so it was about figuring out who I was as a person first. And not everyone's going to like that, but not everyone's going to hate it. So hopefully that's the sentiment that I've left. But I think the key thing is if you know what you are and know what you're not, then it makes it really easy to lead and be really open around things you need help with. And I've got a very talented group of staff around me at the moment, so I'm very lucky that they can help support. And it's a partnership at the end of the day. No longer is there such thing as hierarchy, in my opinion. I think that the key learn for me was being authentic, showing up, showing that you're vulnerable. Sometimes we don't know, but we're in it together. And I think that sentiment really drives strong. And they're the key things that I've learned, I guess, in my experience.
Yeah, I think that's great wisdom that you've earned there. And I guess from a different lens, if you're not authentically you, like you said, some people may or may not, you might not be everybody's cup of tea, but if you're not you, you actually don't come across as anything real that anybody can really connect with at all. So you either be genuine and have connection, or don't be you and have nothing.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely.
I think that's awesome. So I think it's amazing that you love developing your people. Many of the leaders I speak to that are super seasoned and very highly regarded global leaders that recognize that, that is their core function, is to help other people grow. I think it's awesome that you're there as well. Can you share with me a time where you helped a person develop some awareness that really was a catalyst for them to get unstuck?
Yes, and I think, yeah, so that I think that that kind of underpins everything that I do. It's not about calling things out. It's not about shame. It's about sharing experiences. And, we all go through different journeys. I always describe it like a blind spot. So if you're sitting in a car next to someone and all of a sudden that you can see that there's a car zooming past next to them and they can't see it, you would say, hold on, there's something there. And if I can be their eyes and ears when they can't see that blind spot, then I hope that that's a gift that I can give to them. So the way I see it is the way I always frame feedback, both for myself and for everyone else, is it's a gift because, if we can help support each other with the intention of growth, with never the intention of judgment, then I think that, like I think we're always growing beings. I don't think we ever stop. We never come to a point where we just arrive and we know everything. And I think, in essence, I think people understand that. So if I can frame it in a way so that people understand that this is a gift that I'm giving you, and hopefully we can grow together and learn together. That's how I frame things. And there's been a lot of people that have reported into me where at the end of this whole process, and when the time comes, so where we've moved roles, etc., we've always stayed connected because there's been something in essence that we've kind of helped and supported each other in that growth journey, both me as a leader and them as a subordinate. And hopefully that gift is felt and heard, and it's impacted them at least in their career journeys as well.
Yeah, well, the big thing is that because your genuine goal is to help the other people grow, then people, when people know that you care, then that gives them the capacity to both receive and to care back. So I think that's, you lay the foundation with your genuine desire to see them grow, and so that gives you the trust and the rapport to build on. I think that's awesome. Very interesting indeed. Can I ask you one more question, and you're allowed to answer this from your personal life perspective, your role and journey at Skope, or from the world at large. And so just look into the Bianca crystal ball and tell me, what does the next 12 months hold?
I think the next 12 months for me hold a significant amount of growth and learning. I think it's been really interesting because very recently I announced that I completed my doctorate degree, and that was shared with the organisation. And it was really exciting, and that felt like a milestone where it should be celebrated. But I see it as just the starting point because, theory is one thing, I think practice is another. And I consider myself to still be quite young in my role in a C-suite position. And I think for me, it is about growth and learning and seeing how I can connect with people, seeing how I can push boundaries as best as I can and challenge the industry in terms of what great looks like. So I see the next 12 months being the cornerstone of that. I'm no longer studying, and I have my full attention to making Skope the most strategic player in our industry. And I think that comes with a lot of hard work, a lot of great people, which I think I have at this point. And so for me, it's about pushing those boundaries and seeing how far we can take this.
Do you know the coolest thing about that is that you just said, I just finished a really big piece of learning, and so my next chapter is a really big piece of learning, right? Having that continual learning and growth mindset is amazing. It's what will ensure that you're set up to continue to deliver great value and have great impacts. It's very, very cool. So I will share with you as a person that is in a C-suite role at a young age, the two things that you're bringing in terms of always learning and always helping others grow, that sets you up to be a very high impact leader that will have a great career, but most importantly deliver lots of value for the businesses that you're in and the teams that you have that are lucky enough to be led by. Is there anything else that you would like to share, or anything on your mind?
I think one of the key things that has driven me as well, which probably haven't touched on specifically, has been being the change that you want to see. And I've grown up in a world of, being an engineer, which was a great degree. So I did a Bachelor of Industrial Design in the School of Engineering, which effectively turns you into a product designer. And in that time, I was surrounded by a lot of talented students, majority male, and moving into different roles where you are challenged by being a minority, I think has been really interesting. I've been lucky enough to not have faced any adversity in that space. But I think for me, as a young child, it was seeing more women be represented in C-suite roles. And, we can talk about it and we can discuss, how we can get the ratios right, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it's awesome and very, very inspiring. I would love to, you kind of partially corrected in the way that I want to correct yourself, but I would like to realign one thing, and that's that you are indeed changing the world and you do change the world. What you leave behind is what's woven into the lives of others, and by you being the change that you want to be and focusing on giving and improving the lives of the people around you does have the ripple effect that they take home and expands out to all the people they touch. The only one phrase I want to change is you said you can't change the world, you are changing the world. So nicely done, and thank you.
Yeah, I think that's very well put. Yeah, absolutely. And I do recognize that as well. You can change the world that you live in. And I think that you're absolutely right. There is definitely a cascading effect.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm so glad I asked. That was a great share, and hopefully will inspire people of all types. That's awesome. And congratulations for charting your path and boldly going. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This has been great. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we'll talk again. Have yourself a lovely afternoon, and keep on growing and helping those folks grow.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. But I think sometimes the best demonstration of change is actually driven by yourself. So if anyone's listening, I would actually really encourage them to think about what they're really passionate about, what changes they want to see, whether it's personal, whether it's career-wise, whether it has anything to do with politics or whatever that context is, and to push the boundaries, be that change. And it sometimes just takes one person to represent, a certain group of people, and then what you'll start to do is encourage more and more people to kind of follow in your footsteps. And a core thing that I do at Skope is I run a team of a group, which is almost like a community group, and it's called the Women of Impact. And it is about just sharing our stories. It's about making sure that every voice is heard. And it's about, representing those women on every platform, including this one. It's not just about minority groups. It is just about what you're passionate about, what your core drivers are, what those value systems are, and making it really known, but being that person that changes it, not complains about it. And I think that there's a key difference in what we can do. We can't change the world, of course, but we can make at least our small change and make our own impact that hopefully will cascade into more and more people. And I see it almost like this domino effect. So that would be my advice to anyone listening, because I think you sometimes you don't realize how big you can be, even if you're representing one.
I think it's awesome and very, very inspiring. I would love to, you kind of partially corrected in the way that I want to correct yourself, but I would like to realign one thing, and that's that you are indeed changing the world and you do change the world. The what you leave behind is what's woven into the lives of others, and by you being the change that you want to be and focusing on giving and improving the lives of the people around you does have the ripple effect that they take home and expands out to all the people they touch. So the only one phrase I want to change is you said you can't change the world, you are changing the world. So nicely done, and thank you.
Yeah, I think that's very well put. Yeah, absolutely. And I do recognize that as well. You can change the world that you live in. And I think that you're absolutely right. There is definitely a cascading effect.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm so glad I asked. That was a great share, and hopefully will inspire people of all types. That's awesome. And congratulations for charting your path and boldly going. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll talk again. Have yourself a lovely afternoon, and keep on growing and helping those folks grow.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.